Evening. How's everybody doing tonight?
Howdy.
Eric's wetting his pants, waiting for it to start. I'm a bit late. Sorry. Sorry, Eric. Sorry, everybody. How's everybody doing tonight? How you doing, Tara?
Doing pretty good, thanks. How you doing?
Oh,
How's everybody doing tonight? How you doing, Tim?
Oh, my apologies. That's my fault. Okay, there we go. Techno boomer, a moment there. I had the stream live running in the background. Okay, so we have an opportunity here to talk to you about your GoFundMe.
Yes, it's strange.
It is a strange situation. Can you walk us through that? I've left a link down below for everybody. I do encourage you all to, if you have a little bit of money, to donate. And Tara, can you explain to us in your own words why you're running the GoFundMe?
It's strange. So I'm trying to prove that my brother is my brother. So it sounds very convoluted, and it is. Essentially, and I tried to explain this in the GoFundMe page, but apparently my explanation is not very good. So if anyone has any advice that I can use to like make it more sense, that would be really helpful to me. Anyway, essentially what the deal is that Aaron and I have the same birth mother. She died in 1997, I think. But when Aaron was born, she put him up for adoption. He's older than me. And when we were little, his adoptive parents would bring him to my grandparents' house to play with me and to hang around. I didn't know we were related. And then when his adoptive parents separated, I guess his dad would bring him, but his adoptive mom didn't know that he was bringing Aaron to see us. So when they separated, I never saw Aaron again. And in the meantime, of course, I didn't know he was my brother. And I found out over time. And when I was 16, I found him. He was 19. And as soon as I found him, like we were inseparable. He was in Cape Breton and I was in Liverpool. And he and his friend came right down. And actually, it was kind of funny because I was staying at a friend's house. The situation was a nightmare, but I was at a friend's house and Aaron and I had never met each other, and Aaron brought his friend with him, Clarence, and Tanya was the person I was staying with, and she and I had said we should switch and pretend that you're me, and then in case he's weird or whatever. But Aaron and Clarence had done the same thing. Neither of us ended up doing that, but it would have been funny because we both would have been standing there while the other two people met who weren't actually related. But anyway, immediately we were connected, and he ended up living with our mom and me. We moved to London, Ontario, and then after that we moved to a small town called Boston Bar, which like nobody's heard of, but Tanya randomly has heard of it. And anyway, that we lived there, and then he moved from there back to Cape Breton or whatever. Anyway, subsequently our mom died, and so on and so forth. But we were very close. Like, we never lost touch. There was about a 6-month stint there where we were fighting in like 2018, but as far as I know, siblings do that. Other than that, we were so close, and we like, sorry. Anyway, what's happening now is that his adoptive mom died about 2 months ago, and her next of kin was her sister, who I don't know anything about her. By default, she ended up with being Aaron's next of kin, which from what I can tell isn't actually legal. It just seems to have fallen that way. I don't really know how. And it seems as though it was part of I was told that the coroner's office or the ME's office follows a Fatalities Act or something like that. It's a different set of laws than outside of their office.
Mm-hmm.
So for the purposes of inside their office, this adoptive aunt who's in her 70s and dealing with the death of her sister and just doesn't have it within herself to deal with another situation like this, she gave next of kin rights over to Aaron's girlfriend's parents. And I don't even know how that can happen. I don't know. From what I can see in the law that you sent me, it looks like because Aaron didn't have a will and his his spouse and his child and all of his parents and everyone have passed, it looks as though you would go to his DNA and go upwards in his lineage to our mom who has passed, but then downward from that. So for his next of kin should go up to our mom and then down to me and then like my children. But in addition to that, like my mom has two brothers and my mom's mom is still alive. Aaron's dad is I don't know where he is. He was kind of like a drifter, like a homeless guy on Hastings Street in Vancouver the last time I knew. So I truly don't know if he's alive, but really the point is that Aaron's Jolene, who is amazing, and Jolene I love so much. She was like a sister to me. So like I don't want to say anything negative about her. She's amazing. But her family's in charge of Aaron's everything. So I don't get any information from the RCMP. I got a message that said something like, if I want to know, I can't remember exactly the details. I'll play it for you sometime. But essentially, it was, if I want to know the details of like what happened, I should watch the press release at 4 o'clock. And the coroner or the Emmy, I always call them coroner. I don't know if the Emmy and the coroner is the same thing, but
Yes.
their office has been so helpful, more helpful than anyone else. Anyway, there's a GoFundMe page that was started by Jolene's sister. And if you read it, it seems as though Aaron has no living relatives. It's like, I can pull it up and read it if you want, but essentially it says that they aren't getting any financial help from Aaron's side of the family because Aaron's parents are dead. And they didn't come right out and say he has no other family. They implied that he has no other family because his parents are dead. We aren't mentioned. Myself, my child, my rest of our family, none of us is mentioned that we even exist in the GoFundMe page. None of us is mentioned in the obituary. We are omitted from everything. Now, I have had some amazing folks help me out, many of whom are in the chat, and yourself, Seamus, and an unmentionable amount of people have been helping me. And I've even tried to get this person I know, Chris, was trying to get my post put on the Colchester County support page. And every time it goes up, they take it down. And they just take it down. And then I put it up. And as soon as it got up, it got like messages right away. And I was replying to the messages. And while I was replying, they took it down. And I put it back up a second time, and I don't know if they shadow banned it, but you can't find it, and nobody's messaging about it. But the first time I put it up, it was like instantly, it was many comments and sad faces and shares and stuff, and then it was just gone. So like these people are using Aaron's name to collect, like now they've got over $90,000, and I don't really understand what they need it for. Colchester County has committed to paying for funeral costs. I understand they're out of province and they need to travel and so on, but like that's a lot of money. And maybe I'm reading it wrong, and let me know if I am. But to me, there's no mention in there of Aaron having any family, and in fact, they're implying that he doesn't have any family. So at this point, I had to start a GoFundMe page. Sorry, that was a long-winded explanation. Hi, Adrian. It's nice to see you.
Oh, I'm brought in.
That
Sorry, I
was
was
a
on a different screen.
long-winded.
Oh, I think there's an echo in the background there, Tara. Have you got something running? TV or an open
No.
YouTube screen or something?
How's that? Is that any
Excellent.
better? I just turned the speakers off.
Sorry, yeah,
Yeah?
Adrian was sitting backstage and I saw him playing with
Oh,
his,
sorry.
with his thing, but I wanted you
Sorry
to
about that.
be able to explain your stuff and not get off track. So sorry to leave you back there.
Yeah, that. Sorry to like stir the pot like I always tend to do. Anyway, yeah, at this point I've had to hire a lawyer, and thanks to Seamus putting in countless hours of trying to find me a lawyer who is finally willing to help me. And like people are talking about, you know, the property rights and things. I don't even care about that. Like my next of kin, I just want to know what happened to my brother. His body is at the funeral parlor. My stepmom copied a note from one of their Facebook pages that was an expression of they were going to be cremating those guys, Aaron and the girls, today at 1:00, and I haven't heard from a funeral parlor, even though I was told that I would, and I haven't. I don't have any. I don't have any real information. I did have a video that I put out a video on my channel initially when I found out about it, and I was mad. And like, I sincerely do apologize for some of the things I probably said that I don't even remember. I've removed that video on the advice of good friends like Adrian, Seamus, and other people. And anyway, I removed the video, I put them into private so you couldn't see them. And then today I got a phone call from the RCMP officer who I've been waiting for a phone call from, telling me that somebody brought this video to his attention and that they're not sure if they're going to follow through and potentially charge me. So, you know, that's super fun. Anyway, I have deleted that particular video and a few of other ones, and everything is private on my channel now, so you can't see anything. But like, it's just amazing that I messaged him 2 days ago, and he didn't get back to me until it was time to like let me know I could be in trouble. But anyway, if anybody's able to donate or to share my page, or to help me even get it onto like the right page, because I'm such a I'm an idiot when it comes to knowing where to put this stuff. I don't have a Twitter page. I can't share anything to the proper, I'm just a nothing when it comes to that kind of thing. So any and all help is greatly appreciated. Prayers, please pray, because I think that there's a lot of good people that are helping to not just for me, but to uncover what's going on here. And this is unbelievable that I can't get over it, and I'm sorry I'm not making any sense anymore.
No, you're totally making sense, and sorry if you need to take a moment or at all or anything. I really appreciate you coming on and explaining this, because this was, funnily enough, the old GoFundMe was pushed by all of us, and the limit did kept going up, and I was, and this is nothing deprecating upon their family and their loss or anything like that, but this is about representing your brother's rights, because he died intestate without a will, and also because the RCMP is not involving you. Sorry.
Well, the other thing I forgot to mention is that, of course, when my brother's adoptive dad died and left him that property, there was a lien on the property, so it never got even put into Aaron's name. So there's a whole. Oh, hi, Serene, Christine. It's nice to see you. Thank you. So I need this estate lawyer. I'm super happy that you were able to find me one who's willing to help me. And it does seem like at some point there's going to be a lot more than just an estate case. From what I understand, I mean, there's a lot of things coming to light here that shouldn't have been done, and I sort of feel like the RCMP don't like me. I don't know if they like you guys any more than they like me, but I feel like they don't like me.
Well, I think you're asking questions and hard questions, and I think probably it's a I think we should try and just stay focused so that you're not getting in any kind of altercations or trouble with them on
no, and that's it. That's all I wanted to say. I don't want to get mouthy or cause myself any troubles. I just am hoping that that you guys will understand where I'm coming from. Like I've had some pretty nasty messages. And I just want people to know that I'm not doing anything illegal. I'm not fraudulent or anything like that. I just really want to prove that I'm my brother's sister, which is like the weirdest position I never thought I'd ever have to be in. Who would have thought that?
I would just like to take this time too, since the RCMP have come back to harass you, Tara. Over the last 2 weeks, Seamus and I and, a couple others have been doing a lot of streams checking into this, and, we've been forming our own conclusions. I think I don't want to speak for Steve or Rage, but I'm sure they have similar sentiments, but I feel very confident I can say on Seamus and my behalf that what we have done here and the conclusions we've drawn do not reflect on you whatsoever. Don't necessarily reflect. And anything that we have put out that the RCMP is trying to come back to you with should have no merit, because my opinions are my own, my conclusions are my own. And just because we're friends, just because you're on here telling your side of the story, does not mean that any of that should reflect on you.
Yep. Well said, Adrian. Well said.
And I appreciate that. And you know what? I have my opinions too. And to be honest with you, like, it really shouldn't matter what my opinions are. It's not that they're founded out of thin air. It's not that they don't have any proof. It's not like, that I'm just speaking out of my hat. And even if I were, I'm entitled to my opinions. Like, I don't really think it's appropriate for me to be disliked because, I mean, if you don't want to like me as a personal person, that's up to you. But as far as, an institution as the RCMP, just because you don't like what we're saying, it's just wrong. I mean, I don't know. I come from a place, like, I used to work at a bank, and I loved it because it was a place where if you made a mistake, you literally said, to your boss. I would say to my boss, "Oh my God, I fucked up." And he'd be like, "What happened?" And I'd tell him, he'd be like, "All right, well, live and learn, and on you go." And we do whatever we had to do to fix it, and you just go. But this just seems like everything that is uncovered that went wrong, rather than anybody standing up and saying, like, yeah, we made a mistake, or we should have done it this way or that way. None of that is happening, which makes it look even more suspicious to me.
Yeah, and sorry, just to pick up on this point, I want to stress that and I think that's what you're saying too, right? Everybody's saying it's not about what they're doing. Whatever they're doing over there on their stuff on this one is their business, but it doesn't represent your brother's estate or his rights, your rights, and that's a sad thing, because they've used his likeness, his image, his name. And then not even included you, even though they have communicated with you. And again, I'm not trying to pick a fight with anybody. That's not what it's about. But it wasn't, you were under the understanding, is that correct, that they would help initially, that was kind of just the forethought, right?
Well, see, it's my bad because I am really naive, like really, really naive. It's embarrassing. And so when I saw that they were raising money on a GoFundMe page and they had a picture of all three of them, I didn't even read it. I just assumed that it was going to, incorporate everything that initially I thought it was just going to be like to help those guys with the traveling expenses. And then I started seeing it going up. And then
What did you
one of my family members, I think it started at 10,000 and it just kept going up and up and up. And I started getting messages and talking to folks who were donating because they thought it was actually going to help me and my family and Aaron's family. And then they were finding out that it wasn't, and they were really upset, like quite a number of people. And I was like, and then I read it and I went, oh my gosh. But yeah, at the beginning, the matriarch of the family was in touch with me and said, like, I'm going to be in the loop and everything is good. And, we're all in this together and so on and so forth. And I was like, look, you know what? You sound like you've got your shit together. Whatever you need me to do, I will do. You just let me know. And she was going to a funeral parlor to try to make arrangements. And I was supposed to get in touch with her to find out what those arrangements were, because of course it's different now because they're in Alberta, we're here, and with this all COVID stuff, it has to be separated. So we're trying to find like a parlor or a funeral service place in Alberta that could kind of be like a connection with one in Nova Scotia. It was all convoluted, and I just wanted to know what did I need to do and how could I help. And then the next day after was her supposed to be meeting with this funeral parlor. I messaged her and I said, hey, I hope you're holding it up okay. And I didn't hear anything back. And I phoned her and left a message. And her sister phoned me and said that I've been harassing them. And if I contact them again, they'll phone the police. And so I messaged her and I was like, look, you know what? I just want Aaron's dog tags, and then I don't want to talk to you guys anymore. And they phoned the police on me. Like, yeah. I'm like, you told me to call, and then when I do, I'm harassing you.
Yeah.
I don't know if I should have said that.
Well, I mean, it's one. And again, this is the sad thing about when people die, and I know this from my mother, who was an estates lawyer. And, sadly, sometimes some things happen. But it is not right that they use his likeness and his image. And I mean, if we flash over to, because they're saying here that with the excess money, to which they have a lot, they're going to set up an Emily Tuck bursary fund. And they hired an estate lawyer for their daughter from this money. However, when you requested for an estate,
I can't say for sure it's from this money, but I mean, otherwise, what else are they doing? I was told they had to put a $10,000 retainer.
I see. So it is right. Sorry. Thank you for the clarification. It's not that they did hire, but they did hire an estate lawyer to represent them and their daughter's interests. But using, when you equally requested, please, could I have an estate lawyer to represent my brother, who also died without a will, they denied you. Is that correct?
Well, and I forgot this, and I apologize that I keep missing chunks, but initially in the conversation, because the property was still in Aaron's dad's name, and he and Jolene weren't actually married, and the family, Jolene's family, is from Alberta, I was told that they didn't want anything to do with the property, any liens that were on the property, any of that stuff to do with Aaron's side of things. They were going to walk away. So I was like, so that's why I was so compliant. I'm like, you know what? Okay, if that's all and I don't have to worry about dealing with that, then that's great. And the next thing she says,
but you're going to have to foot the whole bill for the lien, etc., right?
Right, I would have to foot the whole bill for the lien, etc. And I was like, that's okay. But now, because I don't even know what's like, that's the challenge
Why
for
would
me.
they need
Like,
to
I
hire
can
an
pretty much
estate
deal
lawyer?
with any situation if I know what's going on, but I don't know what's going on. I can't get any information. I don't know how somebody's able to pass over a next of kin that's legally not theirs to give. I don't know that if by law, the way we read it, that it's mine to have, why can't they sign it back? Like, I don't know how any of it works, which is why I'm so, was so desperate to get a lawyer, and I can't thank you enough for finally getting me one, but can't even find out about anything to do with this until Monday. And at that point, like, my understanding is that those guys were all cremated yesterday. I asked for a copy of the autopsy, and I was told no. So
I find that very strange. Who did?
yes, Mr. AL 444. They are the in-laws of Aaron's spouse. Yes. I'm sorry. Could you repeat that?
Yeah, there's an echo again. Something's echoing.
What did they? What?
Have you got a
Oh
window?
no, I was just answering a question. Aaron had a girlfriend. Me? No. Oh wait, no.
Oh, we lost her.
Oh, I'm
Hopefully-
sure she'll be back in just a minute.
Yeah, so I mean, this GoFundMe again. I'm not trying to pick a fight. What they do is what they do now. But they have used the family of 3, and in here they say Aaron's family is unable to assist, as both Aaron parents are deceased. There's no mention of Tara, and if we flash over to which I'm really sad to see, the 40,000. It went from 40,000. Sorry, I think it went from.
At one point, it was they had it at 30,000.
30,000 to 40,000 to 75,000, and it now
90.
Now they're over 90,000 on the $75,000 goal. So they clearly have a lot of money in there, and so anyway, sorry. Thanks for coming back, Tarek. Sorry about that.
Sorry about that.
So could you? Sorry, we can you go back to the RCMP and what about the autopsy?
So I said that I wanted a copy of the autopsy, and I was told that the I asked specifically, and I have the conversation recorded, was the autopsy completed? And yes, I was told it was. And I said, okay, I want a copy of that. And they said, the RCMP said no one's allowed to have a copy of it.
No one.
No one.
Again, I'm no legal expert, but I'm pretty sure that's a lie. If a family wants to request the autopsy, then I'm pretty sure they legally have to hand over a copy of the autopsy to you.
That's right. It's called the
But I'm not family. Right, and that's the challenge. I'm not but I have to prove it.
You do have to
prove it. This is my problem.
But you do,
right? And so this is my problem. The problem is that, well, I can't find it. My stepmom said she gave it to. Well, the DNA test I can request, but if I understand correctly, like, I have to figure out this chat to my lawyer. One of these fabulous people that I know is looking into the adoption situation to see if we can find Aaron's adoptive records. But his adoptive parents were friends of my grandparents. So I don't know if there was actually, like, if it was a legal adoption or if it was just one of those, you guys can't have kids and we have a kid kind of thing.
So here we are.
Sorry, Deborah, I have photos, I have videos of being there. I have pictures of my child on Aaron's motorbike with Aaron. Like, Aaron was my brother. I was supposed to be living on that property, but we were fighting. We had like a 6-month stint when I bought this house that we were fighting, and instead of moving to his property, I bought this one. And when I got here, then him and I patched things up and we were fine again. And but I don't have. Yeah, I do have phone records. Like, I have text messages and stuff, and all those things. And the thing is, like, his best friend was with him when he met me. People know that he's my brother. Everyone knows. I even met these in-laws or the mom when I was in Alberta visiting Aaron at their house. So it's not like they don't know that I'm his sister and that he loved me. It's just the weirdest thing. And I can't imagine doing this to somebody. I just can't imagine. Pardon me?
There's still an echo on your end. Sorry, I have to.
I don't.
Ask it. God.
I'm so sorry. I don't know what else I have. I have nothing open. I don't have a phone. I don't have anything.
Okay. So the obituary this write-up, which is kind of an obituary. Funnily enough, there is an obituary. My mother said that to me from the Calgary Herald, but that's not going to talk anything about, I don't believe, about Aaron. But there was this write-up in the Chronicle Herald. Were you involved in any way with this at all?
Nope. Nope. Not involved, not mentioned, not anything.
So Aaron Todd Tuck, 45, born in Halifax. His father, Bruce Tuck, deceased. His mother, Gloria May, and Angus Rogers, both deceased. So no mention.
Let me see if I can find earbuds. Hang on a second.
Which is pretty horrific, and I do know, like this would be if in fact, obviously, and I don't. Tara called me the night that this happened at midnight, and she was absolutely a mess. And if for somebody to not be related and phone me in that kind of state, and they were constantly communicating with her about what all was kind of going on. There was this elaborate communication scheme that was going on, but they were definitely communicating with Tara, so involving her and acknowledging, yes, you are related. However, you're not involved with the planning of the funeral. You're not mentioned on the GoFundMe page. Aaron Tuck's family is deceased. And here we have in the write-up on the Chronicle Herald, again, deceased, to which you were not involved in writing this. What about in terms of funeral arrangements at all? How was that planned?
You got me. She is essentially what happened. Can you guys hear me better? Somebody said to put in earbuds, and so I did.
Excellent.
Yep, sounds pretty good.
Nice. Hey, hitters, how you doing? That guy's a really nice guy.
Yes.
There's a lot of really good people here. We are really blessed. Like our group of people, we are being blessed. We really are. We have some good people here. Sorry, Seamus, I totally didn't even know what you said.
In terms of the funeral, how were you involved?
Initially, I wasn't. The thing is about the three of them, Emily and Jolene and Aaron, is that they were so tightly knit that the saving grace, or the only, if there is a silver lining, is that they all went together. Like these three people should never be separated. And so we all agreed that they should all be cremated together, leave the ME's office together, like never be separated at all. And regardless of whether or not we all get along, that's just how it is.
So there is a funeral. Was there in fact a funeral? Oh,
I don't know.
Her internet.
I have no idea.
Sketchy,
I don't know.
At times.
Oh yeah, it probably is. I'm out in the woods and I don't know what's going on with the weather, but I really couldn't say if there was a funeral. I think there was supposed to be memorials, but I wasn't involved with any of them.
Mr. Al makes a good point there. Yeah, and that could be actually what's at the root of this. But funnily enough, it doesn't
What's that?
Well, I mean, I don't want to go around tossing accusations at all. But the fact is, the RCMP are excluding you from decisions to do with your brother's estate, which according to the Intestate Act in Nova Scotia, which I've read, and the Fatalities Inquiry Act, which I've also read, you are to be furnished a copy of the autopsy to deny that of you, and they are to involve you in any decision making. And additionally, the Intested Act names you as next, to the best of my reading. Again, I'm not an expert in Nova Scotia estate law, and it varies from province to province. Somebody was asking me about that earlier, but it does vary from province to province. So, but the best of my reading is that you are in fact next of kin.
Mm-hmm. And Shaylove just said in here that the sister admitted her business is forced to close, and therefore the GoFundMe page is helping. The thing about that is that it says the sister admitted that her business is forced to close, and therefore this GoFundMe page is helping her. What was I going to say?
I missed this here. Shay was saying, yeah, the sister admitted her business is forced to close, therefore the GoFundMe is helping. I see. Okay. So it's not.
And here's one of the things that.
Anyway.
No, it's not benefiting me in any way.
$90,000. Even though they've got his picture using his name right here, and so his likeness in a court of law, that would be considered using his likeness and image, would be the way it's phrased in law.
Yeah,
they're raising money.
Yeah, I would think so.
And not allowing you to, because to me it seems only right that if they have an estate lawyer for their daughter, equally you should have an estate lawyer for your brother.
Right, I would think so. And the way that they have it worded, in my opinion, sounds as though they're using it to help, like, all of us. And
yes,
like, to me, that's how it was worded. And the other thing is, again, I didn't read it at the beginning, but I've been told by my stepmom and my stepsister who donated to it, because my stepmom was sharing the link everywhere, because all my people thought the same thing, like it's going to help me. But what my sister noticed is that they kept changing the verbiage as well as the amount. So she was like, why this, I forget what it was that caught her attention, but she didn't end up donating because she didn't like the way that they had changed the verbiage. And my mom went back and read it. She's like, well, that's not what it said before.
And we equally pushed that definitely at the beginning here.
Well, we're underneath the false pretense that this was going to help you, Tara. That's the reason I ended up donating to it. And then when I found out that none of this was going to help you, it's all going there, and how it's seems like they're using it just to raise money for themselves. I felt a little dirty, to be perfectly honest. I mean,
I know, and I felt bad because thank you for considering me. And I mean, I know how hard you live in a really expensive city, and I know every penny is so expensive, and you're donating to try to help, and it's going to the wrong place. That's not appropriate to do that to people. And on top of it, there are other GoFundMe pages, or there were, that were actually fraud, like who had nothing at all to do with anything. I don't understand why people have to be deceitful. Like, it's a platform. You just tell the people what you're trying to do. And if they support that, then they support that. It's just that easy. So
what we are trying to do is raise money for your lawyer and whatever other costs that is associated with that, possibly DNA, whatever, so that you can have your interests represented. Because funnily enough, if we're talking about what, something that we've been speaking here about, and I'm not saying that you're involved in that in any way, shape, or form, but if there were, say, a class action suit, you do have to establish your relationship to participate in that. So this has long-term ramifications on whether you could even participate in that. And again, that what we've been talking about there, that would be something separate if we were to raise money for that. But Sorry. Anyways, I just kind of rambled there for a moment.
Thank you guys so much, like, for everyone just listening to my story and like just believing me that I'm not lying and supporting me and saying prayers and donations and everything. I really appreciate it.
These people have come to
But
know
you guys,
you over the last few years. And I don't think anybody in here believes that you're lying or that you're doing this as a money grab. You're doing it because you're trying to get you're trying to get some proper closure for your brother, which is being denied to you right now. I mean, it's an incredibly sad story. I can't believe what you're going through with right now, Tara.
I mean, this would be horrific if, in fact, because they did make all the decisions for you. So let us just even say that cremation, which wasn't the fact, like your brother did want to be cremated, but let's just say that your brother wanted to be buried. And they just decided that, and you knew that was his wishes, and they decided to cremate him. You had zero say.
well, initially they asked me what I wanted, and I don't know if it just happened that, like, I knew that that's what Aaron wanted, and they knew it too. So there was really nothing to agree or really disagree on, anything that if I knew Aaron wanted it, that's what I would want.
Okay, well,
anyway, you guys are going to go on to have a stream, so I'm probably just going to jump out of here because I don't have anything to add except a little bit of crying.
With our stuff here, because I think the RCMP is probably already not too happy with you by the sounds of it, and I think that may have to do with this.
The thing is, though, is that I have been I've been disliked a lot and actually find it quite entertaining, and it doesn't hurt me anymore. I just think it's funny.
I think it's tragic.
But my email. Can I put my email? People are asking for my email.
I believe, Tara, funnily enough, you have rights on my account, so I think you can post anything you want.
Okay, but like, is it okay for me to do that? Am I?
Yes.
Like, would you?
That's totally up to you. Yep, that's up to you. I don't know if we'll watch the stream and make sure that it's not censoring you at all.
Okay, if I even know how to do it. Let's see.
You may get bombarded. I warn you.
Well, and you know what? I'm totally fine with that, except that like I said, I was getting some such nasty emails that, like, I couldn't even read them. They were so nasty. So I wouldn't want, like, my email address to be out here and then somebody who's not good to get it and send me mean emails. It was horrible.
Yes, no, there were people saying some really tragic things. See you later, Ian. Thanks for joining. I mean, this whole situation is just not good. It's just not good. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this portion of the video out. I don't know why it didn't put in the information that I had on the GoFundMe. I did link it earlier. I will link it again now. Tara is going to put in her email.
So if I just, and I don't even know how to do that.
Okay, so there's the GoFundMe.
Oh, fantastic. And you have my email address, right, Seamus?
I do. Is that the email address you want to use? Because it will get bombed.
Well, that's the only one I have. That's the only one I have.
Okay. All right. Yes. All right. So that's tl.long. tl.long at
live.com.
live.com. Let's see if it's gonna. It likes to censor me too. Oh! I put a comma. Well, you can replace the comma. Oh, it booted it. Didn't it? No, there it is. Okay. Did it come up on the stream? Yes. Okay. So tl.long at live.com.
That's right.
I'll put it in there correct again. tl.long at live.com.
Which, speaking of which, whenever you have a second, do check your email. I dropped something in there a little while ago.
Thank you so much. And I actually have an automatic deposit for the email, and I have a separate account. So anything that comes through there, I'm just moving it right out. As soon as I get in touch with this lawyer, hopefully Monday, they can set up a trust or something so I don't have to deal with that. They do that, right?
For those who have both options, would you prefer them donating to the GoFundMe, or would you prefer a e-transfer?
The e-transfer is nice because then I don't have to pay any fees to the GoFundMe. But if like the GoFundMe, the people might feel more comfortable. Whatever people are more comfortable with. Yeah, they take a portion of it.
I donated the money, and they charged me a whack to donate.
Yeah, I can't remember the percentage of it, but
sounds like you're getting dinged on both ends.
Yeah, so email transfer it is. And I will just put everything right into that particular account automatically.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, you guys. Like, I can't thank you enough.
With the lawyer or something like that, and then you can keep us surprised as to, where you're at. But hopefully, people will put their money, so to speak, where their mouth is, and step up and help out in whatever way they can.
Have a good night, Ian. I hope to chat with you later. Thank you so much. Okay, well, I'm going to jump out because you guys are the experts, and I am just going to sit here and enjoy watching you do what you guys do.
In no way supporting at all anything that we do.
In no way supporting any of your crazy fucked up tinfoil hat shit. Did I show you the picture I have of my daughter with a tinfoil hat?
Oh, yeah? No.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Do you have it?
Yeah, I don't even know if I can find it, but I'll send it to you, and you can see it. It's pretty funny.
That would be excellent. Oh, yeah.
Have an awesome night, you guys. God bless everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us, Tara. Thank you.
Thank you for...
Oh, she signed out early. Okay, she was saying goodbye. I think I will cut that portion of the video out and make a separate video so that they don't have to sit through hours of garbage, but we get our point out.
I think that's a good idea, yeah.
Okay, so now on to good things, interesting things.
On to the fun stuff.
On to the fun stuff. Hitters, but I do find it very interesting that the RCMP, and I have kind of known about that in the background for a while, but I didn't want to say anything because it's her stuff. I don't want to violate any kind of confidences, but the RCMP is quite adversarial towards Tara, and does that have something to do with things that have been going on over here? I don't know. Where's the
I think partly because we like I've said to you before. Like I've said to you before, I'm not really a person that tries to be too overconfident. But with everything that's happened over these last 2 weeks, I don't really doubt that we are being watched. These streams are being watched by whether the RCMP or one of their affiliates. And because they keep changing stuff whenever we're talking about it. And the fact that Tara is associated with us is part of the reason they're giving her a hard time. I mean, I find it very odd that they just happen to stroll across her video, And even so, like, the fact that they're giving her a hard time about this.
Yeah.
Look at what ended up happening. She just found out she lost not just her brother, but her sister-in-law and her 17-year-old niece. She was very upset about it. So she made a video in which she explained how upset she was with Gabriel Wortman. She was upset with how the police ended up handling it. But now they're suddenly coming across this video and giving her a hard time about that. It's clear they're just trying to, at least to me, to intimidate her, because I highly doubt that if they came to, say, arrest her and she was put before a judge, that a judge is really going to charge her with something. At least from what I remember of that video, I don't remember any real threat being uttered in that video, but that they're still going to try and harass her. So remember, the RCMP is harassing the family of one of the victims of the Nova Scotia shooting.
Now that's just tinfoil. I'm going to have to pull this. I think I should just wear the hat all the time. That is totally tinfoil. What are you talking?
You should do every single.
Aren't they your friends? Aren't they our friends? They work for us, I thought.
Well, in that case, I got a bridge to sell you in Brooklyn.
Oh.
It's a very good bridge. You might like it.
Okay. Well, I don't have much money. I'm trying to save my money so I can donate to the Terra Fund. All right.
Attaboy.
Red Mazda. So Hitters is in here. Thank you, Hitters. Hopefully I won't be getting you saying something. You sent me an article. Let's talk about the article here. Boom. Judge to hear media application to unseal Porta-Pic's RCMP warrants. Interesting. A hearing has been set for Monday, May 4th in Truro Provincial Court to consider a media application to unseal the RCMP warrants pertaining to the mass murder in Porta-Pic. So this is the media taking the RCMP to court to say, listen, we want some details. I like this judge by the sounds of it too. Judge Al Bagan held a teleconference Thursday morning with the Crown attorneys in the case, along with a number of media representatives, including Saltwire Network, to set the ground rules for Monday session, which will be conducted over telephone because of social distancing related to COVID-19. Now, COVID actually has a part in this. His first order of business on Thursday was to dealt with the email from the Crown attorneys, Mark Heerman and Shauna McDonald, whom he had suggested suggested no urgency in dealing with the application, and which he said appeared to be opposed to having the warrants unsealed. Quote, I reject, this is Bagan talking, I reject the Crown Council's suggestion that there's no urgency to this, Bagan said. This was the largest mass murder in Canadian history, and it left my jurisdiction shattered, the province, Nova Scotia, shocked, and the country stunned. The shooter, okay, we can just skip over that, okay. And during the teleconference, Bagan also stressed that it is important to recognize that each court determines its own schedule. And given that the court cases in Truro and across the province has been postponed, at least until June or July, that would be because of COVID, Bagan said there is no reason to immediately deal with the applications to unseal these warrants. Quote, if information, and I haven't made any decisions yet, but if information is deemed releasable after a hearing, it should be done in a timely way, he said. Quote, this means that I have the time now to deal with this before we enter even the possibility of the possible madness of the overburdened court docket starting in June. Now, this is the best time to deal with it. If the Crown decides to contest, this is the Crown, the people, decide to contest Monday's hearing, Bagan said it will, quote, he will be setting strict guidelines going forward for briefs and hearing dates. So he knows that there's gigantic fuckaroo going on with the, pardon my language, but with the RCMP. And it funnily enough, rings of something else, which I'll bring in a moment. But thank you very much, Hitters. What's your take on that?
Well, to start off, I kind of think I might like this judge if he's actually seriously considering unsealing these RCMP warrants. And I think the fact that they're actually trying to hide them kind of says a lot, because one of the common themes that we've been talking about is how they have not been. Oh, perfect. You put the link in the chat. Awesome. I want to save that article. One of the common themes that we've been talking about is the lack of transparency that we've been seeing from the RCMP. And this is another way that they've done it, because they've also said that they're not going to be releasing any more photos unless it's relevant to the case, which I don't really see how that, like, why they just wouldn't release those. I mean, it's just more people like us to go digging through. And hey, if you have nothing to hide, then feel free to put it out. In fact, actually, that's something that a lot of cops like to say about the sins is, if you have nothing to hide, then you have nothing to worry about. So same thing applies to you.
Well, this is so strange. This is so strange. We can monitor all of your garbage. We can spy on all your stuff because you have nothing to hide. If you tell the truth, you have nothing to hide. Okay, so the public has eaten up this garbage. Where were the RCMP? Where are they? They want to hide their stuff, and the Crown wants to help them hide it. And Judge Bagan is saying, I don't know about that one. I don't know. This is like the media. You know, I sent you that picture, and that was from the Crown, and from the Chronicle. So thank you, hitters, for that. The Crown says, or the Chronicle says, we are taking a similar approach to the photos of the crime scenes. Those will only appear to provide valuable context to our readers. Well, actually, frankly, I think the readers all want to know. This is kind of the inquiring minds situation.
Well, because that is the thing, is that there's actually been a pretty large outcry from Canadians wanting to know the details of this case. But they have been very silent as to what they want to release to us. And this is why we have people like you and me that are sitting here trying and Rage in a Cage. We got Steve. All of us are trying to figure out what's going on because we're not being told what's going on, and they're not willing to release it. Now, I think that these warrants by the RCMP will shed a lot of light on as to what the RCMP were doing on that day. Because one of the biggest things that we've been complaining about is how much they failed. Although at the same time, I wouldn't be in doubt that when this was announced, that there was a lot of activity in the RCMP's office starting to shred documents, because I'm sure some of those warrants will not be very good. But the thing is, I think that'll actually help prove this, is that it'll help establish certain timelines for us, and not just the overall timeline. But one thing you were bringing up to me even today, but you have brought up a couple times before, is that it seems that the RCMP may have known that Wortman was the shooter before they actually announced this. Now, why did they wait so long? Why did they wait so long to actually tell everybody who the shooter was? That's
right. So, you know, I know the streams that we all do are really long and stuff like that. So, you know, if you hear repetitive stuff, that's true. I'm sorry about that, but I know people can't tune in for all of it. But 5 a.m., Frank magazine reported that the father was being made aware, that father of Wortman. So that would be Paul Wortman. The RCMP went to Paul Wortman's house and notified him that they had to protect Paul Wortman because they were concerned for his safety. Now, if they were concerned for his safety at 5 a.m., what about the public who was not informed until, what was it? 9 a.m.
to 9, yeah.
Why did they sit on that for over 4 hours? They keep sitting on these details that they don't want to tell people. Why are you hiding Mr. Wortman? Why are you hiding the girlfriend? Why are you wanting to hide all of your warrants? Why are you not wanting to talk about the shooting at the fire hall? Why, you know, and the video, that great video that was released of which messed up the timeline, terrible. That wasn't released by the RCMP. They didn't get that one quick enough. So somebody on the reserve dumped that off, and then it made its way viral. And then it was a problem. So, you know, when I read this article, it got me thinking, and I started to remember something else. Again, we're talking about somebody that's dead, right? So we're not going to be having any trial here. Why are you wanting to hide things about a dead man? Very strange. But it got me thinking, and I remembered something from before. Quebec mosque shooting. Police want warrant details kept secret. Who was in charge of that?
It was the RCMP, right?
That was the RCMP.
I know this is your baby here, so I know you know all the details of what went on during the Quebec mosque shooting.
Yeah, and I'm not going to bore people with details about that, but I'll tell you, you know, maybe I'll put those. I took all of my videos down because of some situation that arose a couple of weeks ago where, there was some hacking issues going on. So I took my videos down, and I never still have ever finished that story. There's a lot of details more I've never spoken about, but I did kind of go through the Quebec stuff quite a bit. But here, once again, the RCMP were fighting tooth and nail with the media. They I believe it was 7 outlets at that time. Oh, this doesn't have the actual article in it, which is too bad. I do have it saved on my computer because I think they deleted that article, funnily enough, the full one. But I did archive it and save it. So they were fighting really hard. There was a massive battle. So who are these people? The Crown represents the people, apparently. The RCMP is a police force, a gigantic, very powerful police force, which encompasses most all of our country and does have jurisdiction even in cities that there are municipal police forces. They work to protect the people. Apparently, they're getting paid from taxpayer dollars. Hey, Critical, how's it going? Mr. Al? They work for the people to protect the people. Why would they be fighting the people? The media, who I would say is not that great, but because they're owned by conglomerates by and large, and also push agendas, but they are trying to get at least some truth to the people. What's going on with the police force and the Crown? Why do they want to hide stuff?
See, I don't really think that when it comes to something like the police, the RCMP, that they can really fall back on what a lot of individual citizens would, is that the whole idea of, you know, sort of what we said, it's like if you got nothing to hide, is that it's understandable that, like, for the average citizen, why you'd be skeptical of the RCMP. But the RCMP, these police forces, is an organization, and transparency should be one of their biggest assets. But that's the thing, is that when it comes to the RCMP, especially in this situation, but in the past as well, they have been very obtuse when it comes to releasing information. And I think that actually sheds enough doubt that we should have this situation where we're looking to open up the warrants, where maybe in should come a civilian watchdog, not like CERT or anything, but like, because CERT seems like it's still more of a political entity, but something more like the average citizen coming in and being able to go through these documents to see what exactly was going on that day. The whole point of the police is to not just to serve and protect people, but is to get to the bottom of any sort of criminal activity that ends up happening. And when the police seem to be willingly trying to hide any of that criminal activity, then it sheds doubt on their credibility, and it sheds doubt onto what they're involved in and what they're actually trying to accomplish.
Yeah, I wish I had that clip lined up where they talk about that in the media at one of their press briefings, where they say, "Oh, we want to rebuild," you know, or not even, they didn't say that because that would be putting them in the position that they actually would stipulate to the fact that they had done something potentially wrong. What they said is, you know, we cherish our relationship of trust with Nova Scotians and with Canadians, and it's very important to us. Well, if that was so, why in the fuck are you hiding shit? Why are you hiding shit? Don't you work for us? Who pays you?
Why are you fighting the citizens that are trying to ask the tough questions? People such as Frank Magazine. Why are you going after the families of the victims? Why are you apparently watching streams between two idiots in the middle of the night?
There you go. There you go. And Hitter says it here. Red Mazda. You know, oops, they made the Red Mazda mistake. We pointed out the Red Mazda mistake. Now it just suddenly becomes a Mazda. They drop the red. They're not going to say gray or red. They'll just say Mazda. You know, they just keep changing the details. Is it tinfoil? I don't know. Maybe people in the chat want to answer that. Is it tinfoil to think that the RCMP are watching the stream? Because if Concan is getting in trouble because she's somehow associated herself with us, right? Which is a possibility because we sit and ask questions. And anybody who thinks, and I know you and I talked about this off air, because I'm like, well, I think we better be, you know, are you willing to go stay the course? You know, because the RCMP are going to blackball us big time. And that has lifelong ramifications. I mean, they put all kinds of shit on your file and they can screw with you in any which way, shape, or form. But I think it's this idea of fear. Now, why do they want people to be afraid? I thought they were trying to stop the fear in public, like protect us, keep the criminals away from us, etc. This is adversarial now.
But it actually runs contrary to, I would say, their own goals, because if they can keep people in a state of fear, then that actually gives them more control. Yes. It allows them to, well, sort of what we're seeing play out now, allows them to get away with just about anything they want to, because out of fear, people aren't going to ask the questions. If you are going to try and shut people down that are asking the questions, or blackball them, or try and arrest them, or ruin their lives, and the next time this happens, you're going to have even less people that are willing to stand up and say, what the hell's going on here? Until eventually there's no one around to do that, which is why I think it's very important that anybody that is out there and asking the questions is to stay the course, even regardless of if they're trying to give you a hard time, if they are trying to intimidate you. What do they have on you? I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't have a record on me. I don't have, I've never been arrested. Worst I got was like 16. I got stopped by the cops and like I got pretty much a slap on the wrist and sent home, you know, like the finger wag. But that's the worst they got on me. So if they're going to try and threaten that they're going to blacklist me, I mean, they could, but, you know, I don't think it's going to work out very well for someone who has a clean record.
Well, they do it. And, you know, it is about the power. And this is why I see this, you know, usually I'm kind of the big picture poly type stuff. But this is very important to me because of Tara. And two, this is very important because I see this as an in for Canadians to actually demonstrate that they do have power. Because if we do, funnily enough, and it's a big if, raise it at some point, we're going to have to start raising money and organizing the families to do a class action lawsuit. But if we launch a class action lawsuit against the RCMP, this is the people trying to take their power back. So this will have ramifications across many different realms because people will begin to understand, listen, you don't just have to sit there on YouTube and ramble. You don't have to just ding a bell or do a like, you know, which I appreciate, by the way. But shameless plug. And of course, shameless plugs for, you know, everybody helping over here, just like Adrian at Just My Stupid Opinion, and you know, Steve LTT, and Rage in the Cage, and so many people, and all of you hitters sending me this article, you know, and Ozzy and Tanya, Lots of people, so many people, too many people to name. But if we actually begin to show that we have some power, oh, that's a threatening thing. And we can take it back. We can take it back.
You know, there was always something that stuck with me since I was a kid. And this may seem kind of childish, but I remember did you ever, I don't know how, when this movie came out exactly, but it was a movie called A Bug's Life. And it was about it was like a Pixar animation. It was these ants that were being harassed by grasshoppers since they were bigger and stronger. And they were making the ants pick the food for them. So when one ant ended up sort of giving them a hard time, and like the lead grasshopper in their like summer home says like, we got to go back. All the grasshoppers are like, hey, what's the big deal? It's one ant. So he's like, you're right. It's just one ant. And he starts like picking up these little like walnuts or something and throwing them at him. It's like, did that hurt? And they're all laughing like, nope. And then he's just like, how about this? And he just dumps a pile of them on all of them. And his whole point was that it's like one's not a problem. But as soon as all of them start standing up to us, they're our way of life. And it's the same thing with politicians, with the police. One dissenting voice here and there, not a problem. The problem is when everyone gets together because they're heavily outnumbered.
Yep.
They're heavily outnumbered, and that's the real threat to them. And this is why the small dissenting voices are actually maybe a small threat right now, but they want to quell it as fast as possible. Because the more people that listen to it and start realizing the problem, the more people are going to be waking up and willing to stand up and try and take back that power. And then that's when it gets really dangerous for the people in charge. So that's why voices like your and mine scare the hell out of them.
Yes, it does. It does. Yep. No, this here, what we're doing by questioning, using facts. Yes, there's speculation, but we do say, preface it by saying speculation, but there is facts, and using facts is threatening. It threatens their power, which they have falsely convinced us that they have. Why is it that they have power over us? That they're supposed to be on the same team, I thought. And it's really sad that this has gotten to this stage. So I really do hope that people are sharing at least the information with other people, or encouraging them to come over. Who was it that was saying to me, was that you that was saying that about no, I don't think it was about the people who are kind of not into questioning things and such like that are actually coming over here now and watching, because they're like, oh, this is rather interesting. I do see that a lot of facts are being kept from me. Why is it that they want to keep facts about a dead man away from me? Why is it that CERT is involved?
I'm not sure, but I think that may have been Steve, because I think he may have said something similar to me a while back. So I think it may have been him, but he's right. The amount of people that I'm starting to come across that are just aware of these problems now. Like, one thing that gave me a bit of hope, although it did sort of die down, but I still gave me some hope, was the amount of people that actually took notice and became aware of what was going on in the Jeffrey Epstein case. Because a lot of times you hear something like that, it's it's sort of something you read very quickly and off you go. But a lot of the average people, those sort of quote unquote normies, were paying attention and asking the questions about him. It was like, what's his connection back to all these politicians? What's this about his island and all this pedophile ring he was running? How did he die in a security prison? And just all these coincidences, such as the cameras just happened not to work right beforehand. And that gives a bit of hope. And I'm starting to see that more and more with some people. Every now and then, like in my comments or something on YouTube, I'll get people that'll be like, I never really took notice, but, now I'm more aware of what's going on. So people are starting to really become aware of how much they're being screwed, which is part of the reason that I think the censorship gets ramped up on all these social media platforms more than anything else. You type in, actually a good example of this was back, I think it was like last summer, or like maybe it was fall, but when all of those fires were breaking out in Australia, I wanted to go through and just get a video of somebody who was there, of just the fires. It was like for a my own video that I was working on.
Mm-hmm.
And when I typed that into YouTube, all that came up was NBC, ABC, CNN, Fox News, CBC, and on and on and on. I scrolled for a few minutes and went through a few different pages. Not one just video of an average person just taking a video of the fires. I actually had to go to a news source just to get this video from what would be an average Australian just showing everything. And this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to bury everything underneath their propaganda.
Mm-hmm.
And doing it because they're starting to take notice of what's going on. I mean, as much as people want to say, like, there's the conservatives that are being censored on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. It's really anybody that's trying to break the status quo, who's trying to show people how badly they're being screwed. Because even on the other side, you'll find the exact same thing with a lot of people that are trying to explain this to their audience, that are being shadow banned, that are being kicked off of YouTube. And that's really what it's all about. It's about trying to maintain the propaganda, maintain the power over the people. And why do they want this power? I think it's that old saying that absolute power corrupts absolutely. And that's really, at the end of the day, why the RCMP are acting the way they do. As soon as they got a taste for it, they wanted to maintain it. They like the authority that they have, people.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of, not all, but I think a lot of people that ended up being cops were people that either had that influence over people when they were younger and really liked it and wanted to get that taste for it again, or it was a lot of people that felt they didn't have that influence and they wanted to get that power over people. There's a mentality inside of the police, and I think in politics, it attracts these sort of people to it. And those are the type of people that seem to rise to the top because they're easily corruptible.
Yeah, and there's a lot of good cops,
Oh, absolutely.
I've spoken to in RCMP, municipal sheriff's departments here out in Alberta, OPP out in Ontario, right? Lots and lots of good cops. But the thing is, it's that thin blue line that's keeping them in line. And frankly, my question to other police officers is, it's not an accusation. I'm not being deprecating upon you by saying it. My question to you is, if you don't like what's going on within your policing system, it is your duty to the people that you represent and protect to step forward and say, we got to clean it up. Because I wouldn't want to work for somebody who is dirty. I honestly wouldn't. If there was dirt going on, I'd want it cleaned up, because that besmirches my name. I have to constantly, and this has ramifications outside of just this case, right? Because now suddenly people don't trust the RCMP maybe as much. Now suddenly they become adversarial with the police, who, funnily enough, they're on the same side with. Why do you want that? The powers that be control that. And that's what they want. They want this adversarial balkanization of people fighting with each other, authority and plebes.
It is, yeah. And I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I've always felt that it's important to be able to have your friends or people who support you that are willing to criticize you when you're doing something wrong, so you can clean that up. As much as it can be a kick to the ego, if somebody was to say, come on and give me an example, where they have a problem with something I said and they present it in a proper way, it'll hurt the ego a little bit, but I'm willing to accept it because I'd rather clean up my own side, clean up myself, so it can't be used against me. And I don't know why in the police force, this is not something that a lot of them seem to go with. Like I've said before, internal affairs and those sort of people, they are the scum of the scum to a lot of cops. They hate them. And these are good cops that hate them. But that's what the mentality has been bred into them since they came in. Internal affairs are the enemy. Even though they're the ones that are supposed to be going after the corrupt cops, even the good ones don't like them, don't want to talk to them, don't want to work with them. And a little bit of the irony of it is then cops kind of turn around and wonder why the citizens don't like cops, don't want to work with cops, don't want to negotiate or help them.
Exactly.
It's the same it's the same reason. It's because they don't trust internal affairs because they feel like they're going to get screwed over. But then that's exactly how the citizens feel with the police. But they don't seem to understand that from the other side.
And this business about the RCMP policing themselves, get out of here.
Ugh.
Get out of here. They cannot. They need something independent to keep them in check. Just as, politics supposedly, in theory, has this kind of, right? That's why I like things like down in the United States, libertarian type things like recall. We should have recall. If you don't like the person who's representing you, boot them out.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is a really great awakening, and Critical is absolutely right. This is all people. It doesn't matter if you're black or if you're Jewish or if you're a policeman or if you're Muslim, or it's all people beginning to say to themselves, I don't like what's going on, and how do I clean that up? And you got to start at home, so to speak. And the police department, if you don't say anything and you're a policeman, you're complicit because you're tacitly agreeing with this behavior.
No, you're right. And I get it's not easy to do. Like, it's not easy to be a single individual facing an army, because you are going to be that guy that's going to, especially if you're the first one, you're going to be that guy. Everyone's going to hate you. Everyone's going to give you a hard time. But you got to have those principles to be willing to call out your own side when this is happening. And that can mean the police. And I think the thing is, too, is that I think a lot of these cops, there are a lot of cops that want to stand up and say this, but they're all waiting for someone else.
Someone else. It's always someone else. Everywhere.
Yeah, no, absolutely. In fact, one reason that when I think about one of the reasons I got into doing this sort of thing, like YouTubing and talking about Canada and Canadian politics and that sort of thing, one was because like I kind of had an interest in this, no doubt. But another reason is because I remember going around and trying on YouTube, trying to find Canadian YouTubers, and the content was so small. It was so tiny with the Canadian YouTubers talking about the state of Canada and politics that you could find. And I kept thinking to myself, like, why isn't somebody like talking about this? It kind of dawned on me one day. It's like, well, if nobody else is going to talk about this, I got to talk about this. Yep. Now they're out there, but it's just, there's such a small pool that they're very hard to find. In fact, most of the YouTubers I know are like, watch, I found through other people. I found, for instance, Derek through you. I found, Steve reached out to me, and that's how I found out about his channel. And that's exactly how I've come to make these connections and figure out about all these Canadian YouTubers. But at the end of the day, it was kind of those. It was like, well, if I can't find it and it doesn't seem like anyone's talking about it, maybe I should be the one to talk about it.
Somebody has to take the initiative, because if you look at history, the people that stood forward, sure, they're the ones that are hated initially. But in hindsight, they're the ones that are appreciated and vaulted, because they had the courage to say, enough, I want to change, I'm willing to do something. It's not somebody else's job. I'm going to leave it, because there is masses of people who want to make changes, but it is, I'm afraid this constant, and this is why I kind of speak about the trauma shit. We've been traumatized for so long, and we're going to get absolutely, something's going to happen to us, something terrible. And something does happen terrible to a lot of people. But you can't keep everybody down when they start. And so people just need to start speaking up, raising their voices, doing things, not just talking about it, because we can sit around and they like that. This whole thing about YouTubing is great because it does educate people and wake people up, but it is an echo chamber, because it's just people speaking by and large, speak. And what is that? In fact, that plays into their system, funnily enough, because you just talk about how shitty the fucking world is, but you don't change it.
And the thing is, I think that intimidates a lot of people, and I understand it, is that a lot of people have that sort of, I would say most people, including myself, and I'm sure you have too, is like, well, how much of a change can I really make? You know, what can I do? I can't change this whole thing myself. But what is forgotten on a lot of people, and I've forgotten it too many times, even when I kind of realize it, I forget it and I re-realize it, is that when you are able to bring everybody together to try and implement change, it actually doesn't take a lot of effort for every single person. It only takes a little bit of effort, each single person, to make a huge difference. The problem is that when it's one person trying to change everything, because that's a task you'll never be able to complete. But if everybody can come together and just everyone do a little bit at a time, a little bit of work, you spread it out amongst everyone, it's amazing what people can do. And this has been shown time and time again throughout history, even modern history. We've seen this play out. I like to point towards what the Yellow Vests have accomplished in France. Like, now, granted, these guys have still been, and now I know with the whole COVID thing, they're not really out on the street, but for 70 weeks straight.
Handy that.
These people, yeah, exactly. I know. Same thing with Hong Kong. A bunch of protests, suddenly they're just gone.
Mm-hmm.
But for 70 weeks, I had so much respect for the French people with what they were doing, because for 70 weeks, every single weekend, they were out there. They were getting beaten. They were getting shot with beanbags. They were getting maced. And yet it didn't stop them from getting out there every single weekend to protest their government. And it wasn't just about a fuel tax. They made it very clear that they had other intentions. You know, they felt that they were unrepresented. They didn't like Macron because they felt that he was a dictator. And I've reached out to a few of the people in France asking them about this, some of the Yellow Vest protesters. And this is exactly what they ended up telling me, just like on Twitter and stuff. This is what they told me. And I had so much respect for them for that just they came together, and even if they haven't accomplished their task yet, they didn't give up. And it actually made a difference. And you could tell because the media went out of their way to hide it as much as possible. And when they talked about it, they tried to slander it as much as possible.
Yep. And you know, these it's not as though, because in an ideal world, a lot of these things are working for us. The media works to keep the government in check. The judicial system works to keep the government in check, et cetera, et cetera. They're all supposedly supposed to work together well, but they're not. And that is because people are being, they're passive. They believe in their minds. They've been conditioned to believe that they have no power. I am just one who's, you know, what difference is it going to make? This is my mom. You know, my mom said that to me. What difference? She's the daughter of my grandmother, and she should know better. You know, my grandmother proved it to her and made drastic changes in this country because of it. Just one who then had a couple of people, and it wasn't just her that started it, but, you know, it just kind of went from there and it changed. And she learned the systems. You become friends with a good journalist. This is what we have to, there's a game plan to all this. Good night, Tara.
Have a good one, Tara.
So thank you so much for joining us, and sharing, and God bless you. And you get a good journalist. You know, the media is very controlled right now, but there's still a good, I like to believe that there's still goodness out there. And, we get a good journalist on here and we hit them. We get our facts organized as best as possible. All of our, collective minds working together well here, and say, here it is. Help me on this. That's one facet. Then you go and you also get the families together, all united. My mother was very big on that one right away. She said, get all the families together. Get them all together, because they tell Concan something. They tell, Jolene's family something. They tell Clinton's family something. They're all telling different things to different people, and you've got this essentially like a compartmentalization, and one hand doesn't know what the other hand is doing, and that's how they control it. But if you have one united voice, oh goodness, well, that's a problem, because you have to tell everybody the same thing. So if you're going to lie, you're going to lie to all of them, right to their face.
And I mean, they know, like, they're willing to lie to us because, again, like we've been with everything that we've said so far, they're worried about what if they tell the truth. I'm trying to remember exactly who said it, but apparently it's one, like, a very powerful person who said that if the average citizen knew what we were doing, they would murder us in our sleep. And it's because do you know who that was?
No, it was a politician, as I recall, quite high up. Yeah,
I think it was like a U.S. politician or something like that. But yeah, so they're aware of what they're doing and how badly we're being screwed over.
Yep.
So the thing they fear most is that we suddenly become aware of it. The whole idea of the truth, or
Yep.
And again, this is why they want to censor as many people as possible, so they aren't aware of that. And it's like it's the psyop will be complete when everything that people believe is a lie. And we're getting dangerously close to that right now, which is why I find that right now you have more people, more than in recent history, that are coming out and starting to speak their minds and trying to inform people. And the whole point of this idea of fear is that they want the average person to believe that the average human being is actually a pretty terrible person. They want you to have this sort of pessimism towards your fellow human being. And I'll admit, like, even I'm guilty of this exactly. I can't tell you how many times in the last week I've said that people are stupid. You know, it's like this pessimism works. Absolutely. Yeah, it's like I'm just as guilty of it. Even when I'm here talking about it, I'm just as guilty of it as anybody else.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, I guess it's maybe like, you know, you go to work or something and you deal with a bunch of people and you kind of come back like people are stupid, you know, people are a-holes, yada, yada, yada. But when you really kind of sit down and you think about it, most people are good. And you see this play out in the worst crisis. Whenever there's a huge storm that devastates a community, or there's a mass shooting that left a community broken, you see the true nature of people, the goodness in people. I mean, we look at the people who are in our chat right now, and what they've done for Tara is unbelievable. Like I'm so proud of everybody and what they've ended up doing for her, you know? It's like people have been reaching out to her, people have been trying to help her any way that they can, even if it's just trying to give information to try and get to the root of what's going on here. This proves how good people are, and it's easy to forget, but this is exactly what they want. This is why they lie to us. This is why they push the fear. This is why they try and create this image of the terrible human being.
Yep. No, and I completely agree with you. And above it, you know, just on a personal note, you know, I'm very happy to see how much help people are willing to put and help. Like it's inspiring to me to see people working together, uniting, and saying, "Listen, we're going to work for something here because we want something different. We're going to use our minds because we can. Our minds can defeat evil." If we have that attitude that we're not going to sit there and wallow in our own stew, we're gonna fix it. 1.4 billion. Loretta points out there. Sorry, just this is a great philosophical conversation, and I love it. But 1.4 billion to CBC to lie. You want to take the fire hall story alone on that one. They interviewed the lady literally on video for the fire hall story, and they never ran it that night. They published an article, but they had the option to run it on their news. It was earlier in the day, and they didn't do anything. They sat on it, they edited it, And then because people got pissed off and said, what the hell, they're shooting up the fire hall, then they edited it selectively and put that story out. But she's wearing the same clothes. She's in the same, hanging out the window talking to the reporter. They didn't want to tell anybody that. And we paid for it.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. And this is why and this is the problem right now with modern media, is that there's this monopoly on all of it. And you've spoken about Post Media before, but you look at how much they own, and it's not just like they're owning the big papers all across the country. It's not just National Post, Financial Post, Toronto Sun, and all of these Suns around the country. But you find out, you go look into it, and you realize that a lot of these local papers are now under the control of Post Media. Yep. And it's kind of sickening because they control everything you hear. There was a point where local journalism was very good because it wasn't underneath this conglomerate of media sources. And I mean, I have no doubt that what we're seeing right now is still not all the papers that they own. These are just the biggest ones that they're going to talk to you about.
Yeah. I mean, and if people don't believe it, literally open your paper in the Calgary Sun and the Calgary Herald. This is when I stumbled upon it. I don't know, whatever that was, a couple of years ago, and I was like, what the hell? The article's running the same in the Calgary Herald that is running in the Calgary Sun, which apparently are supposed to be on kind of two different ends of the, quote, spectrum, if you believe in this bullshit still. Because it's not a spectrum. What it is about people who want either that have been fully lulled and fully conditioned into subservience versus people who want something different and want to quit living in the shit that they have built for us and that we have tacitly agreed to live in. But the same articles run in the Calgary Sun that run in the Calgary Herald, and then you can actually, funnily enough, find them on the news, and they're the same. On the TV, they're exactly the same. Canadian Free Press. Ooh, there you go. They just all over the place. Reuters, same thing. And we get them all in the same paper. It's the same author, same fucking article, just a different brand.
And in terms of like where these stories come from, it's amazing how much of these stories come directly from either Associated Press or Reuters. These are two newspapers that apparently have so much influence over all the different newspapers that are out there, along with the Canadian Free Press. Like, I swear half the stories I read now have Canadian Free Press underneath it. Amazing how much it is. And things have shifted a little bit since this happened, but I remember there was one time where back when he was on The Daily Show, Jon Stewart was being interviewed, and Jon Stewart had his own agenda he was pushing and everything. But people were talking, it's like, well, young people are coming to you for the news or something. He's like, it's sad. It shows the sad state of journalism when a satirical comedy show, is considered the news. Like, people come to me to get the news. But this is now the same thing, but for your average YouTuber out there now, where people have stopped going to this source or going to even the alternative news. People aren't really trusting anymore, and you can see how it develops. I mean, I've watched how the post-millennial has developed over these last few years, and it's just turned into the exact type of news source that they criticize right off the bat. And it's sad that now all I did was go out, buy myself a mic, buy myself a webcam, and then all I did was do my research. And I'm probably hold more credibility than some of these journalists out there. You hold more credibility than a lot of these journalists out there. And many other YouTubers in both the States, in Canada, all over the world are now holding more credibility, are doing better investigative work than these billion-dollar media companies.
Mm-hmm.
It's unbelievable that this is where we're at.
Yeah. And you say it doesn't. Articles don't have names on them. If they do have names on them, a lot of times, funnily enough, you'll find 4 or 5 different people's names on it, working on the same article. I mean, a journalist once upon a time was somebody who wrote a story and it was their baby. I know that. You know that from doing stuff on YouTube. It's your baby. You know, you coddle it and you love it and you want to figure it all out. And, you know, if you got 5 different people working all over the place on one story, they're just dropping little tidbits. Nobody knows who the hell it is, and nobody cares. They're just like, okay, move on to the next thing. As long as my editor, as long as Post Media, Brand, as long as whoever, Canadian Free Press or Shaw Cable, approves of all of this stuff, there we go. They're the ones in control, and so then but it's not. I'm just doing my grind. I'm just doing the grind just so I can get paid. The one guy you and I were talking about, I still, for the life of me, I can't remember who the hell that was that wrote for the Post Media or National Post. And he came out with an article and he got shit canned, and he knew he was going to get it. He knew he was going to get it. And he came on YouTube afterward and he said, listen, you know, I had to stand up, be the guy, right? The tip of the spear, so to speak. I'm not going to use Jonestown because I understand Jonestown's agenda, but the tip of the spear and write this because it's the truth. I can't write something that's a lie. And they actually did let him publish it, and then they fired him. And that's not a journalist. That's not somebody who's free to say their own opinion. Every journalist out there will tell you that they have to edit their stuff to push the agenda if they want to survive, literally survive.
Oh yeah,
get food in their bellies.
No, yeah, and there's no pride put into the work anymore, because I know that you know this, and like, but for me personally, whenever it's something that I've worked a lot on and I put in the time, the effort, the research, you know, you feel that sense of pride when people are watching it, when people are sharing it, and you're able to have people that comment and say like, wow, I did not know that. Thank you so much. And, you know, it hurts whenever you do that. And then someone comes out and be like, actually, you were wrong on this, you know, because the whole point is like, what's lost on a lot of these journalists is that, like you said, it's your baby. You want to work it. You want to make it as perfect, as fine-tuned as possible. You want to get every single angle of this story, so that way whenever you do turn out you made a mistake, it hurts. Whenever it turns out that you did a great job, you feel a lot of pride in there because you did a great job with it. This is lost on modern day journalism. Now they're just like, they're kind of like the cashier at your grocery store. They're just waiting for the next person to come up, just pump it out, and then send them on their way. It's the same thing in the store. They're waiting for the next thing to come by, just pump out whatever they have to pump out and keep going. They don't love their job. They don't have pride in their job, because if they did, then they wouldn't let this happen. Like, see, as much as, again, going back to Jeffrey Epstein and that anchor from ABC that was caught on the hot mic saying like, we had the story of Jeffrey Epstein 3 years ago. You know, we had everything. We had the witness that was ready to come out and give her testimony, but they canned it. As much as, you know, you kind of say like, well, there was a reporter willing to do her job. She still had the story and she didn't put it out on her own. She still pulled the line to keep her job.
Exactly, which leads back to this blanket attitude that all people have. Like the RCMP, the good cops, the probably vast majority of good cops within there are just waiting for somebody else to do it. Mm-hmm. And so then who gets shit canned when that video comes out? Well, it's not her. It was the person who put the video out, who leaked it, you know? But she sat around on that. She could have had the moral fortitude, the compass within her, to say, listen, you know what? Screw you and your job. I don't care about the millions anymore. It doesn't matter. This is this money bullshit that they have us filled with, materialism and garbage. She could have just stood up and said, you know what? I'm going to leave. There are good journalists who go and do that. You know, and you do have to be leery now, because everybody does have agendas, and stuff on YouTube is not necessarily just independent. No. Absolutely not. But say take somebody like a Coulter, right? Who, you know, she left a really good paying job as a journalist. She was very well respected. And she said, you know, I'm sick and tired of knowing about the pedophilia and this kind of stuff. And she started to publish shit.
You mean Ann Coulter?
Is it Ann Coulter? The
Well,
blonde?
Well, Ann Coulter from the U.S. Or are you talking about Jill Colton?
Jill Colton. There you go.
Yeah,
Sorry.
okay. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Too much stuff. My brain.
No problem. Yeah, no, I thought because I remember hearing her story about that. Like, it was a video she put out like a year or two ago, at least, maybe even more. And yeah, she was talking about that. She's like, I used to work for the media. I was so sick of what they did, and I left. I couldn't do it anymore. And yeah, at least I can respect her for that, because she didn't decide to sit on the sidelines and keep quiet about it. She went out. She decided to take that risk, because I understand why it's scary for that. The idea of not having a job anymore. You know, many of these people, you have mortgages, you have cars, you've got kids that you've got to pay for. You got to put food on the table. It's something that worries you, absolutely. But sometimes you just got to take that stand.
Well, that's that system that they built for us, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the system that they built for us to keep us down. Thank you for correcting me. Thank you, Linda, too. That's what I need, correction, you know? But it's that voice inside of all of us. I don't know if other people know what I'm talking about, but there's something inside that says, ooh, hold on a second here. To me, I call that God. And it's God speaking and saying, listen, you know, when I started making YouTube, I did I'm not going to show my face, and I'm just going to show articles and talk in the background. And I wasn't long-winded like this necessarily. I always have been. But that's because I come from a family of lawyers. We get paid by the hour, right? So, but and then I thought about it, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to hide behind a microphone, hide behind my keyboard, be a keyboard warrior. You know, I'm going to show my face. And I said it. I remember with the first video I came out and I said, you know, if I'm strong enough in my beliefs, I can stand up. You can see my face, and I can go to rallies and stuff like that. You're going to see me. I'll put my boots on the ground. I'm not going to sit around and fucking talk shit and you're never going to know who the hell I am. I have a face. I do have a name. You know, you can find me if you want to find me. But because I stand for what I believe. You have to listen to the voice of goodness inside of all of us.
No, you're absolutely right on that. And that was a similar reason that I actually ended up putting my face out there, because when I started this whole thing, I started off, I just was going to do a podcast. I was uploading my stuff to iTunes. Then I started putting on YouTube, but you know, all I did was just have like whatever my avatar as I spoke. And then one day I just kind of was like that. I was like, well, if I'm going to do something, if I'm going to talk and put my opinions out there, then I'm going to stand behind my opinions. Same sort of thing. I'm going to put my face out there. And whatever happens, happens. If I get into a controversy, I get into a controversy, but it needed to be done. And then we need more people with faces out there. Like, I don't actually begrudge people that want to keep their anonymity online. Like, because I think that is, I think that should be a good option for people. I'm not like, you know, there's people that are pushing to try and get anonymity completely removed online. I'm not in favor of that whatsoever. But at least when you have a name to it, when you have a name and a face that you can place toward a person, it humanizes the ideas a lot more. What the hell happened to Seamus? Did he just die? Seamus died, everyone. He's never coming back. This is my channel now. You know, I'm not sure what just happened to him. I don't know if he...
Uh-oh, now I don't have any camera.
Now I
don't have a face. Look at this.
Christ.
I don't know what they did to my computer. They messed it up, man.
We were just talking about how, you know, you need to put your face and your name out there, and this is what you pull.
Which one do you want? Do you want this?
Sure, that's fine.
Or I can restart my computer. I was just telling people I by accidentally slipped on my fingernail. I probably need to trim it. And I was just saying, giving your channel a plug, because I'm hoping people will go over there and subscribe.
Like, subscribe.
Yeah, no, be sure to subscribe to his channel. I linked it up above. I don't know why, for some reason, the type up that I didn't show up, but it has your channel linked in there. But it's important to support one another, and Adrian does really good work, like awesome work. And anybody who's not subscribed to him should be subscribed to him, just like they should subscribe, I think, to Steve LLT or LTT, sorry, or Rage in the Cage, like, because there's people who are working hard and they're willing to bust their ass. I guess that's kind of a small token of recognition, which actually kind of nice. I like to see the chat scrolling by here, you know. I don't know, it makes me feel nice because I'm watching, reading, and all these people are having these conversations. It's pretty awesome. I killed Kenny.
What's that?
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, you killed Kenny, you bastards.
Oh
yeah,
my
well,
God.
you probably didn't hear it, but I was just, as soon as you jumped off, I was like, oh my God, Seamus died. It's always my thing. Whenever somebody, it doesn't matter where I am, work, family reunion or something, someone's always like, where's this person? I'm like, oh, they died.
Links, please. Sorry, who's links? Maybe I missed something here. I'm probably.
I don't sub to gingers. I completely understand. And I don't blame you.
That's racist. Racist.
Hey, you know what? Gingers do deserve to get this criticism. I know, I married one. I married a French ginger, so I love giving her a hard time. I give her a hard time about being French. I give her a hard time about being ginger. It's awesome.
Oh goodness, my that is quite a combo.
No kidding, eh?
Oh wow. Well, okay, I'm not going to keep it going too long. I just wanted to go through that story, and most of all, I wanted to hear about Tara. Mm-hmm. So let's get that back up to here, because of my derpness. I'm going to have somebody else drive for me. I think one day I'm just going to be able to do. That's why people have like somebody else handling all the stuff, but not this one. Here we go. So this is Tara's GoFundMe. It's going to a really good cause, going to a really good friend, and we need to support that. So I'll drop the link in once again. We can help her out here just a little bit. Versus derpness. There you go, derpness. So if we can send her a few dollars, that would be great. Or better yet is, I guess, her e-transfer, which again, her email account, just dropped it
in the chat.
Oh, you did? Awesome.
Yep.
Thank you very, very much. And that'll save everybody a few dollars. It'll save you guys donating. I would have done that probably had I known that there was some kind of money, but that you had to pay. So I'd rather oh, look at that. See, it's gone up some. Thank you. Awesome. Shay, thanks. Awesome. Ian, superstars.
You guys are the best.
Wow. Got a few people in here. Good stuff. But donating, I guess, apparently straight to her e-transfer. I'm not going to get into techno boomer stuff. tl.long at live.com. And be sure to subscribe to Adrian's channel, Just My Stupid Opinion. I'll throw that link out there again because I think I failed and somehow disconnected myself from. Here's the set. That's how I do it. Here's the link, and I'll put all this information in the description down below, as well as Steve LTT. Why do I always want to say LLT? Or L? I don't know. I get it so muddled up. Hopefully he won't hate me. I hope not, anyways.
Well, he still comes on your channel, so I'm sure he's fine.
Yeah, he's pretty good. I don't think his his wife is huge on me these days. But anyway, you can blame that goddamn Wortman and RCMP. If RCMP were behaving, we wouldn't have this problem. All right.
I really hope he uses that excuse on her. Listen, baby, I'm sorry I'm taking so much time, but this damn Wortman guy.
It's those RCMP. What it? Anyways, all right. So have a super night. Everybody take good care.
All right. Take care, everyone. Good chat.
Thanks for joining me, Adrian.
Hey, no problem. Anytime. All righty.